Today, I'm gonna take you guys through how to do a handstand. After today's work, you should be able to do a handstand within a few days, so let's get right into it. As you start performing and practicing handstands, one thing you might worry about is falling over. Very natural, because it tends to happen when you're practicing your handstand. What you want to learn to do is what's called a pirouette. What that means is you're gonna kind of turn out of the handstand to land on your feet. Once you have this down, it really takes away the fear of falling out of a handstand. So let me show you how to do this. Hands are gonna come down, gripping the floor, having a good base, just beyond shoulder width. When I kick up, and you can literally practice this on purpose, like kick into this handstand thinking you're gonna twist out. I'm gonna kick up like a handstand and then twist out. This is what it looks like. I'm gonna kick up and twist out. Notice what I'm doing there. I'm literally kicking up and twisting my body to the side and twisting out. That is called a pirouette. That was sloppy footing. When you do this, it really takes away that fear of falling out of a handstand and really makes it easy. And you can do this anytime you handstand. So again, I'm coming down, I'm kicking up, I'm gonna twist with my body and my hands and twist out. Notice how my hands there are twisting as I'm falling. I'm moving from here to here with that twist. I'm up, twist, and out. That's a key point when working on a handstand. So if you fall, you can twist out. So the first and most important thing with the handstand, just like it says in the name, are your hands. Where your hands go and how you use your hands in a handstand is really gonna help you with your balance. What I mean by that is that when you're doing a handstand, how you put your hands on the floor is really gonna make a big difference. When we're doing a handstand, you wanna go about shoulder width apart or a little wider than shoulder width apart. You are gonna take your fingers and really work on pressing them into the ground. As you can see, as I'm pressing in the ground here, my knuckles are changing colors, which means I actually am physically pushing into the floor. And that's what you're really gonna need to do with your handstand to control your balance. If you think about your feet, when you're walking or standing, your toes are constantly moving and gripping the ground. We're gonna be doing the same thing with our hands. I'm saying this because a lot of people, when they think that they're gonna do a handstand, they kind of just like walk up, just throw their hands on the ground and just try to come up and try to balance. And they're kind of all over the place. You don't wanna do that. If you're gonna work on your handstand and get better at your handstand, you actually wanna take your hands, look at the ground, a little wider than shoulder width, get a good base. I'm pressing into my fingers here, and that's what you wanna start with when you handstand. So once you have this part set, with your hands pushing into the ground, we can work on popping up into our handstand. When we're working on a handstand, you don't necessarily need to jump and go all the way straight right away. And what I mean is you literally don't need to pop, to a straight handstand right off the ground. What's gonna make it a lot easier for you is if you pop up with your knees bent so you can start learning to control your balance. Then once you have your balance, you can straighten from there. Let me show you what that means, or let me show you what that looks like. I'm gonna have my hands set, pressing into the floor. I'm gonna kick with one leg up, taking me up into the air. Keep my knees bent, and I'm gonna start finding that balance. Notice as I'm coming up and finding that balance, I'm pressing my fingers into the floor, and it's that pushing of my fingers and the muscles in my forearms that are controlling my balance. If I jump up and I'm tipping too far forward, I'm pushing into the ground with my fingers, finding that balance and keeping my body from falling forward. Let me show you what that looks like. As I kick up, I press into the ground, I stop my body from moving forward. I kind of catch my balance. And that's what you want to start working with. When you first start, it's probably going to look harder or feel harder than I'm making it seem right here. But that's something you really want to work on. Popping up, keeping your knees bent, playing with that balance, pressing into your fingers, and starting to feel yourself finding balance. Essentially what we're learning here is to stand on our hands. You probably didn't think about it because you were a baby when you learned, but when you learned to walk, it was just as difficult. You were learning to stand on your feet, and now we're learning to stand on our hands. So, once you've got your fingers pushing into the ground, once you've kicked up, and you're starting to find that balance, you can start straightening your legs. And when you straighten your legs into your handstand, something you want to think about is you want to be as straight as possible with the handstand. The straighter you are, and when I say that, I mean physically straight, right? Like your body is a straight line. The easier your handstand is because you're physically using less muscle to stay straight. When your arms are bent or your banana back, which I tend to do still, it's hard to get rid of this, you're using muscle to keep your arms bent. You're using muscle because your back is bananaed. When you straighten everything out, notice I'm tucking my hips in there to straighten out that banana back. Everything is stacked on top of each other, so I'm using less muscle to stay straight. The straighter you are, the stronger your handstand is, and the easier it will become. So, keeping that in mind, thinking about keeping a straight line, really extending our toes and body towards the ceiling, let's try this handstand again. So I'm gonna take my hands, I'm gonna put them down just beyond shoulder width. I'm gonna get a good grip on the floor. I'm gonna kick up with my knees bent. I'm gonna find my balance, and then I'm gonna extend my body as straight as possible towards the sky. So here we go. I kick up, I find my balance. I'm gonna bring my legs together. Once they're there, I'm gonna really work on tucking my hips and straightening myself as much as possible towards the sky. And the straighter you are, the easier that handstand becomes. And that is how you do a handstand. Again, I know I made that look a lot easier than it's gonna be when you first start, but if you really rework those steps and really think about your hands, straightening everything out, finding your balance, it's gonna make it a lot easier as you're learning your handstand. Now, there are a few things you can do to also really help you learn a handstand. The first thing you can do is use a wall. You may have seen this online before. If you haven't, I'll show you what we're gonna do. So find a good wall, hopefully one that you don't mind marking up. If it's a wall in your house, you're probably not gonna wanna wear shoes because we're gonna be kicking up onto the wall. So if you have socks on, it's not gonna leave a mark on the wall. If you have bare feet or shoes, it might mark it. So might wanna use socks. Also, just be mindful when we're kicking into this wall that your feet aren't going through the wall. I don't want you to watch this video, put a hole in your wall at home, and you're like, Scott, I listened to what you said, and that was a hole in my wall. So, have a good wall, maybe wear socks. Here's what you're gonna do. Similar concept, we're gonna come down to the floor, find some good hand placement. You're not gonna go all the way to the wall right here with your hands. If you go all the way to the wall, it's gonna be hard because you're literally on the wall. So let's come a little bit off the wall, maybe, what is that, 8 to 10 inches, something like that. And I'm gonna go ahead, once I have good hand position, and I'm gonna kick my body up onto the wall, catching the wall with my feet. If you don't catch the wall, you're gonna slam into it. And again, like I said before, it might put a hole in it. So carefully catch the wall with your feet. See that I caught it? I'm gonna put my feet up there. I'm gonna straighten out, try to get as straight as possible. And what you can do, you can work on coming off of the wall and finding your balance. And then when you lose your balance, you can come back to the wall. You see that? I'm coming off the wall, finding balance, coming back to the wall, and so forth. I fell off again. But it's okay. This allows you to practice popping up. So let's get back up there, find the wall, find the straight. When you feel good, you can come off the wall. The goal here is to use the wall as a balancing point. So you can really work on finding your straight and finding your balance. When you're comfortable, again, you're gonna kind of ease off the wall, finding your balance. Then if you start to fall, it's okay. Fall back to the wall, reset, and come back off. This wall is really gonna help you work on being straight, finding balance, and get comfortable being upside down. The longer you spend upside down on your hands, the more comfortable and more your mind is gonna start to understand how to balance on your hands and or handstand. Don't get stuck on the wall where you're only using the wall. Again, this is a tool. The goal is obviously to work on your handstands on the floor as much as possible. The wall is just a tool to use to work on your balance. So after you've used this to work on your handstand, there's also one other thing that I really like using and really helped me when I learned my handstands, and that is using dumbbells on the floor, which I'll show you next. So what I have here are just some dumbbells. You can really use any type of dumbbell you want. If it's a circular one that rolls, it's probably not ideal. You want one that has some edges so that it's not gonna roll. If you have slightly bigger ones, like these are 30s, that's great just because the dumbbell itself is a little bigger, which is gonna give your hand a little bit more clearance off the floor. That being said though, you can probably use almost any size dumbbell, with the exception of anything smaller than a 10. I just don't know if a 10 is literally too small to get your hands under. But in any case, grab some dumbbells. What this is going to do, instead of putting our hands flat on the ground here, like a normal handstand, which does put a lot of tension on our wrist, you're putting a lot of balance in your fingers, this is gonna change our grip so that we're gripping now a dumbbell, right? And when we grab a dumbbell, all the tension is gonna be in our wrists, which is naturally very strong because we have our forearm there. So what this is gonna do, it's gonna really allow you to focus on your balance and not worry so much about your hands and your fingers. We're just gonna be using our wrists so you can really work on your handstand strength and handstand balance. So let's try this. I'm gonna put these again right around shoulder width apart. I'm gonna grab them just like you would grab any dumbbells here. Before you pop up, you can get a feel for what it's like to use your forearms for your balance and control versus using your fingers like you were on the floor. So I'm gonna get a good grip. I'm gonna pop up, find my balance, then I'm gonna straighten out and find my handstand. And that is how you use the dumbbells for a handstand. Some people find the dumbbells harder, some people find them easier. When I was learning my handstand, I actually found it a lot easier to use these again because I had a lot more power coming from my forearms. I wasn't reliant on my wrists and my fingers. At that time, when I first started, I feel like my flexibility in my wrists was not nearly as good. So for me, when I was constantly practicing these handstands, I could really feel it in my wrists. So using dumbbells or parallettes really helped me with that because it took that tension off my wrists and put the power in my forearms. So just a tool to use. Obviously, an actual handstand, you're gonna wanna work on using your hands on the floor. But if your wrists get tired and or sore, or you really just wanna change it up to work on your balance, try the dumbbells out. That is my handstand tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and put them down below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Have a great workout and get after it.